going on? Got another kind of, crazy looking sky. These things seem to be everywhere right now. And on a day like today, as nice as it is out, it's like, of course, people are going to be out. So if they're trying something, today would be a type of day where they would do something strange. Because it's a holiday. And the movie Independence Day, which is predictive programming. But I noticed all this extra luminescence, man. It almost looks like ionized plasma. Z-pinch, 0 point type stuff. And in this, but you cannot see it, man. Well, maybe you can see it in there. There it is. There's a tube. It looks like a plasma coil. It looks like one of those long lights, dude, that two of them go next to each other above you, like in an office room. It's kind of like that, but it almost looks like a straw tube, a cigar shape. And you can see this one area, and it's rectangular right here, right? I think there was a movie, dude, where they even showed they would have these jets pull these engines through the sky, and it would make this kind of plasma vortex thing, and they were changing the weather with it. Luke Perry was in it. It's not a very, it's like a really B movie. Like, not like high budget, but dude, it's high powered as far as like the predictive programming and the leaks and drops that they put in there. I mean, but for that, like Star Trek, they put so many leaks and drops and that was such predictive programming. Great example of predictive programming is Beam Me Up Scotty technology. And that's funny, they actually had that in that movie They Live. Oddly. And once again, at the end of They Live, he's blowing up a tower, freaking like a radio tower, because it was sending a signal that was blinding everybody to the aliens. Freaking Rowdy Piper. But yeah, dude, it's truth is stranger than the fiction, man. Sometimes, in a lot of ways. And it's so, if you know how to skim through it, dude, and like kind of like keyword, key point, themes, what's the other, narratives. They're like scripts that, some think tank assholes, like, they wrote like a memo and they pass it out, and they freaking went in a room with a bunch of people, freaking like Congress does, kind of, or in a college university manner, and a bunch of people sit in a room and kind of throw ideas around at each other, and you can see their handiwork, dude, in like media and movies and entertainment and freaking propaganda coming out of the news. You get these things like Iron Mountain Report, these fictionalized documents, Protocols of Zion, silent weapons for quiet wars, freaking, and even also, you can even say like Revelations, dude, and like Matthew, Luke, and John, and Mark, man, because there's a lot of like conspiratorial, like end time, like leaks and drops, almost like it's like predictive programming, but it's not predictive programming. It's actually prophecy. It's prophetic. Prophecy is kind of like predictive programming, and it's kind of like a foreshadow, or something leading up to another event, or they're kind of like, there's these cycles, and you'll see the pattern of the cycles. Like, look, kind of like with rise and falls of kingdoms, nations and peoples and stuff like that, and ages and times. Like, you got like the Renaissance, for instance. That's kind of like a small scale kind of an age or a time or a season. There was a season for that, but then, there's also something else will come in where, there's a great upheaval and change. And no, these things happen. It's like, look, it's nobody's fault when the water just stops working in an area, dude. You can't control that. Look, you can't blame, like, did the Mayans blame it on, it's just climate change. When their water moved, or the Pueblos, when they kind of were importing it in from a long way, and you're taking a big fucking risk, man, when you're doing such things. And that civilization, man, hinges on that one little thing. And if the river ever goes dry, you gotta shut it down and move it on out of there. Like, and that's kind of like a way, where like when things that are evil are going on and people are kind of abusing their power and position, there's a way of like where it's supernatural. They get taken down. Like, look, even if they, bitterly fought and hung on and clung to the power, it's like, but look, dude, the river dried up. And life, we can't even have a kingdom and subjects and people out here to tax because no one can live here anymore. Freaking not in the way we used to. So it's like they had to shut down and move it on down the road somewhere else. And those friggin' things never disappeared. It's just, to me, it seems like they probably just, there's something called the Woodland Period where the Indians up here up north and in the Midwest and towards the west and the center of the country all of a sudden had way better pottery. You know what I'm saying? It's probably because the displaced Mayans and Pueblos, where they had these techniques for longer and more proficient at them, there was an exchange of information, and where all the Indians all of a sudden had better pottery, and it was seen everywhere as opposed to being in smaller pockets, and it was even more rudimentary. You know what I'm saying? So there was like, and you could see these guys probably, they went into the, like, what were those guys, the Seminoles down in Florida? They probably went some to there, into the Crees and freaking Tennessee. You know what I mean? And these other tribes, or, some tribes probably, fought them, or maybe they even evolved, like small pockets of families evolved into tribes over time. You know what I'm saying? Friggin', I'm not positive how it went down, but you can kind of find little traces. Also, you can find like earthworks, and that was something that the Mayans and the Pueblos both knew how to do, and they just disappeared from one spot, and all of a sudden now they're finding these crazy earthworks on another spot, and it's probably because during the cataclysm these people got, they SHFT extracted themselves, and and they probably just humbled themselves until they gained some trust of some people, and then they probably traded their knowledge for rights to the area without being a trespasser. Yeah, dude, this is really like a plasma filament right here, dude. Like a tube, like a light bulb. It's like, and dude, I swear one time there was 3 lines up here, like right over the sun, and I swear they stopped the sun, and it didn't move for like a minute or two. Like it just stood there for a second one day, and I couldn't get no one to come watch it with me to tell me I was full of shizzler or not, man. But it was pretty freaking freaky, man. But it was weird too, because there was like no sound, like none of the birds were making any noise. It was like everything was still, but people were still going on about their business, but and oblivious, man. Right, this stuff was going on right under their nose, so to speak. And I witness stuff like this often, where it's like right there in the fringes, in the peripheral, there's all this crazy stuff going on, and this people are just kind of oblivious, and sometimes maybe even me, but that's when someone else is paying attention to it somewhere else. So it's like, no, it's designed in such a way as you can't catch it all, but you'll catch enough to know what's going on when you finally start to see all the stuff happening. And through these Skywatch chronicles and frequent documentation of this stuff over a long period of time. And even though I do it less and less on the YouTube, but I still do it in my life. And I still, when I get the chance, like, look at this thing in here. Really strange looking thing right here. Almost looks like a face, or a silhouette of a face. It's like a giant back there. Look, you see sky snake. I mean, it's still there. That almost looks like some kind of craft. And that's the wake it makes through the sky. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, look, dude, when you think of the Chinese fucking sky serpent or the Mayan sky serpent, and then you start to see this type of stuff, the vernacular does help express what's going on, what you're seeing up here. So even though the modern and the ancient still like jive together, you know what I'm saying? When you can interchange them, dude, and when you actually use it in practicality, it rings true. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like something that's really true. It'll be true metaphorically, literally, and categorically, which means